A very good afternoon to you. Thank you for staying with us as we continue to update you on the latest at this hour on the issue of the total paralysis that had been witnessed since Monday on the roads, as now we have a white smoke. This is TV47 at 1. My name is Sheilar Chelangat. And of course, a few minutes ago, we just witnessed the CS Interior as well as CS Energy Opiyo Wandayi just to give a presser on the same, just saying that now the matatu strike that had been on since yesterday has been suspended for the next 1 week. And right about now, we continue to put you on the radar of what is happening and reactions on this particular matter as we now listen in to former CS Eliud Owalo just address on this particular matter, asking the government for accountability. Let's listen in.
Has ever imposed on the Kenyan people. Not even the COVID-19 global shutdown that disrupted international logistics and supply chains, or the Russia-Ukraine war, not even the 2008 global oil shock, the Arab Spring, the Libya conflict, the Gulf Wars, or previous Iran-linked Middle East crisis pushed Kenya's fuel prices to these punishing astronomical levels that we are witnessing today. With these prices, every liter of fuel purchased by citizens, motorists, industrialists, farmers, transporters, and ordinary Kenyans from all walks of life is bleeding the Kenyan economy liter by liter. If urgent measures are not taken with speed and seriousness, the runaway fuel prices will trigger a full-blown national economic crisis with devastating consequences for households, for jobs, the entire production value chain, and the overall cost of living index. Every sector of the Kenyan economy depends on fuel. And when fuel prices spiral out of control, correspondingly, food prices will surge. Transport costs will skyrocket. Production will slow down. Businesses will shut down. Jobs will disappear. And millions of households will be pushed deeper into abject poverty. The mama mboga now pays more to transport vegetables to the market. And farmers are forced to spend more on irrigation, machinery, and transport of produce. Manufacturers face rising production and distribution costs, while workers increasingly struggle to afford fare to their workplaces if there is means of transport in the first place. As we speak, there is no means of transport. Those who are making it to work are going on foot. When Kenyans can no longer afford to grow food, travel to work, power their homes and businesses, or transport children to school, and when industries can no longer produce competitively because of runaway energy costs, the consequences extend far beyond the economy. And at that point, the country will not only face a severe cost of living and food security crisis, but also the real danger of a full-blown national security crisis driven by economic distress, social frustration, and growing public desperation and anger. As of today, this economic distress, social frustration, and growing public desperation is already grinding the country to a halt, with roads blocked, businesses closed, transport disrupted, infrastructure destroyed, schools closed, and the insecurity and violence that often accompanies the resultant public protests at the runaway fuel prices are also rearing their ugly heads. The government, therefore, must act now and not wait for a national crisis before responding to this dire situation. As we speak, I've already held consultations with various local and foreign investors. And in their view, Kenya is losing its comparative advantage and attractiveness to investors due to the high cost of doing business, and may lose its status as a preferred investment destination in the region. Ladies and gentlemen, Kenya is bleeding at the pump, and the economy is rapidly hemorrhaging. We are weakening the very lifeline of our economy through these fuel price increases, and decisive action must now be taken. If I may ask, how can a landlocked Uganda have cheaper diesel than Kenya when most of its fuel passes through Kenya? How can Tanzania and Ghana maintain significantly lower fuel prices than Kenya? And how do we rationalize the fact that despite global fuel price hikes exhibited by tensions in the Middle East, it is Kenya that continues to bear one of the heaviest burdens? It just doesn't make sense. So you cannot continue advancing the argument that the prevailing fuel prices is as a result of the war, because other countries are equally facing the consequences of the war. But their governments have come in as agents of necessity to rationalize the fuel prices through relevant and appropriate policy and structural interventions. That means there's something amiss with us. The truth, therefore, is simple, that Kenya fuel prices are no longer being driven purely by global oil prices. They are driven by overtaxation, failed or lopsided policy choices, non-competitive fuel import arrangements, and misplaced government priorities. No economy can grow when the cost of movement, the cost of production, and survival also becomes unbearable. In my view, the primary drivers behind the runaway fuel prices, one, of course, is the global oil prices, crude oil prices, the rising international crude oil prices, which is driven by geopolitical tensions, such as the Iran conflict and border instability in the Middle East. But it cannot be used as an excuse for failure to put in place the necessary interventions by government. The second cause of the current skyrocketing fuel prices, in my view, is the so-called government-to-government or G2G oil deal. The government-to-government fuel import arrangement, which was initially introduced to stabilize supply and lower prices, has failed to deliver meaningful relief to consumers. Concerns also have emerged over reduced market competitiveness and inefficiencies within the import framework. And despite government interventions, including subsidies financed through the Petroleum Development Levy Fund, the fuel prices, particularly diesel, have continued to hit record highs. In fact, even within this G2G arrangement, in a free market economy, it beats logic why you should actually confine that arrangement to 2 or 3 companies. Why not open it up for purposes of competitiveness? Yeah? Why not open it up? Yeah? We are witnessing a situation where it's either being undertaken in the context of a duopolistic or oligopolistic or monopolistic market structure with just few players, as opposed to a competitive market arrangement. Yeah? And that begs for answers to quite a number of substantive questions. The other cause, in my view, is the high taxation and levies. Heavy taxation, in my view, remains one of the biggest contributors to high fuel prices in Kenya. A substantial proportion of the pump price, estimated at about Kenya shillings 80 per litre, is attributed to taxes, levies, and regulatory charges. And consequently, even when global oil prices ease or tax reductions are announced, The cumulative burden of these charges continues to keep fuel prices elevated and the cost of living painfully high. In fact, a discussion we need to have at a different time is whether or not some of the levies we are putting on fuel and other services or products are within the confines of the law. Because the Constitution only calls for tax and charges, not levies. But that's a discussion we'll leave for another day. The constitutionality of some of these levies that we are imposing. So what is the economic impact of skyrocketing fuel prices? One, this skyrocketing fuel prices is profound. Inflation has already climbed to 5.6% in April 2026, driven largely by rising transport and production costs. The recent oil price spike is estimated to have cost Kenyans an additional 20 billion in just 2 months, and consequently, the country's economic growth forecast for 2026 has been revised downward to 5%. The most worrying thing, good people, is that once we have that rise in inflation, almost all costs of essential commodities, goods and services is going to correspondingly go up within the not too distant future. So Kenyans will continue losing their purchasing power as a result of the cost of living index. Businesses now face higher operational costs, which are ultimately passed on to consumers by way of higher prices. And this will lead eventually to higher and higher cost of living index. The transport, agriculture and manufacturing sectors are particularly vulnerable, threatening food security, industrial productivity and overall economic stability. The steep rise in fuel prices has worsened an already grim economic outlook in Kenya. It is now a no-brainer that millions of Kenyans are struggling to put food on the table, let alone meet their daily basic needs. The prices of essential commodities such as sugar, cereals, tomatoes, and have gone up. And Mama Mboga or ordinary mwananchi can barely make ends meet, while the working class has become increasingly frustrated and economically disenfranchised due to excessive taxation, or punitive taxation if you want to call it. This additional fuel price hike burden means many workers can no longer afford to drive to work. Even affording public transport has become increasingly difficult. The net effect is a stressed population, a frustrated working class, and a country that is rapidly losing economic confidence and social stability. We cannot, good people, allow our people to be pushed any further to the brink. And this is why I'm proposing.
All right, that is Eliud Owalo just giving some of his recommendations to the government as per the fuel hike protest that we have seen since Monday. But as of now, it remains suspended until further notice. That is 1 week to allow for consultations between the government and stakeholders in the transport sector. And of course, he just recommends a VAT reduction as well as review of levies and also the establishment of strategic petroleum reserves. We will be giving you further updates on that in our subsequent bulletins. But for now, we now switch focus to Langata Hospital, where a section of Kenyans have gone to protest the arrest of OCS Central, who is currently recuperating at that particular facility. We now join our reporter live, Samira Mohammed, to just let us know what is the latest, how is the situation on ground, and what is happening. Samira, good afternoon. What is the latest?
Thank you so much, Sheilar.
Thank you so much, Sheilar. Chelangat, we're coming live from the Langata Hospital, where Central Police Station Officer Commanding Station, that is OCS Disha Nangoya, is currently receiving treatment after being arrested on Monday evening. Remember, Disha Nangoya fell ill few hours after his arrest in police custody and was later transferred here at the Langata Hospital, where he's currently receiving treatment under tight police custody. Remember, here we've seen a number of Kenyans and protesters who have come out here to protest, urging the police and the government to release the OCS officer commanding station, that is Central Police Station. Remember, he was arrested on Monday evening after following allegations that he released 64 Kenyans, or rather protesters, who were protesting at the Nairobi CBD during the fuel hike protest. He was arrested on Monday evening and was transferred here on Tuesday morning. Maybe if my camera person can just pan the camera and show you the situation here is a bit chaotic, where a number of citizens are protesting. They're here, activists, a battery of lawyers and police officers. Citizens here are protesting, and their request and their wish is just one, that Dishan Angoya is released and set free. The protesters here are saying that Dishan did not commit any crime to release those protesters who are released. Remember, it is his mandate and duty to release any person who's arrested and is under police custody. And maybe if we can get to hear from a number of people here, maybe 2 protesters who came here to protest and request the government to release Dishan.
Kwa majina naitwa Bruce Gordon, Linda Mwananchi Young Patriots organizing secretary, and also 625 member movement. So we came just to stand with the OCS. OCS just like any other citizen, and with these powers, I think whatever he did, if there's anything that should be done, angomepelekwa kotini. So if you see police coming here to barricade a mere hospital where somebody needs to get some health care and still barricading such situations, this is very uncalled for. I think we are in a country of rule of law, so everything needs to be taken by the book. When you hear the CS talking yesterday evening and when you see whatever is happening today, they are not in the same book. So I think we are losing our nature as a state that is really ruled by the Constitution, and now we are ruling by justice. And with this, I think we are engraving young people. As right now you can see the youths here, they are very engraved about whatever is happening. Because if these are the same people that we probably think that will one day protect us, and an OCS of that caliber being arrested and probably being chained on the bed like some rapists or some thugs somewhere, it's very uncalled for. Leo ni Wednesday, or is it Tuesday? Angepelekwa kotini, si ndio? Angepelekwa kotini. If they could not do that, still they wanted to keep him in custody. For what reason? So if they're punishing somebody for if he has done something right, it's very uncalled for. I think the government really needs to really rethink on how they're going to do their things. But bure itakuwa ni ngumu sana. But we as the youths, most of the Linda Mwananchi, will always stand with such patriots. Is one of us.
Yes, this is Jacom 002, the incoming member of parliament of Embakasi East. Niko hapa na Constitution of Kenya. The Constitution of Kenya is very clear. Mr. Murkomen anajaribu kudivert maandamano ikuwe ni kama kabila fulani ndo inaandamana. Article 37 of our Constitution is very clear. OCS ako na nguvu ya kutoa mtu kwa station. Amepewa hiyo haki kikatiba. Murkomen, sababu uko na issue ya ukabila, tutapima pressure ya hii Kenya tuhakikishe Kenya haki ifuatuliwe. According na Kenya inafuatnika hapa, OCS anashikwa juu amefanya Kenya anafaa afanye. Sababu OCS ndiye ana sign hizo kesi za kuenda kotini. Unaona? OCS amekubaliwa, yeye ndiye anapeleka kesi kotini. According to watu wenye walishikwa kwa maandamano, they invoke article 37. Ni nini walifanya? Walikuwa wanataka OCS awawekee makesi, awawekee ni raping, ama alikuwa anataka OCS alifanya kazi yake. And we are telling you, Murkomen, we will invoke article 1 of
Right, that is the situation outside Langata Hospital, where a section of Kenyans have just protested the custody of Dishon Angoya, who is the OCS of Central Police Station. He was arrested early this morning over claims of abuse of office. And of course, the story on fuel protests and the hike protests that have been seen since Monday continues to elicit more reaction. We now cross over to the DCP party leader Rigathi Gachagua, who is live from the UK, addressing this particular issue.
And I would urge the people of Turkana to stop this exploration until there's change of government next year, where they can sit down with the new administration and negotiate a good package that will change the lives of the people of Turkana. It cannot be that a natural resource given free of charge by God to the people of Turkana will benefit William Ruto and Gulf Energy. It's unacceptable. And the people of Turkana must say no. And I urge them not to fear. They must be like the people of Ikolomani in Kakamega. When William Ruto got some people to go and harvest their gold without adequate compensation to the people of Ikolomani in Kakamega, they stopped it. People organized themselves and said no. And this is what I'm urging the people of Turkana to do. I know I'll be accused of incitement. I'm guilty as charged. I have a responsibility to speak for the people of Turkana. They cannot allow William Ruto to take their oil and go with it, when this oil and its proceeds can change their lives forever, to get good schools, good roads, water, good hospitals, and change Turkana to be another Dubai. The people of Turkana must rise up to the occasion and say no. Finally, let me say I've heard Hassan Omar of UDA saying that people have been radicalized and asking what people have done to William Ruto or what William Ruto has done to the people. I want to say, Hassan Omar, you are the ones radicalizing the people of Kenya. When you ask Churchill to kill the matatu industry and replace it with BTR buses, what are you doing? That is radicalization. The matatu industry employs many people. Many Kenyans have invested in the matatu industry. And you are issuing a public statement asking the Minister for Transport to kill the matatu industry and replace it with the BTR. You are actually radicalizing the matatu owners, the drivers, the touts, and all the people who work out a living from the matatu industry. You are asking what William Ruto did to people of Kenya, why they are so angry. You should know because you live in Kenya. He abducted and killed their children. People are still in pain. He has levied taxes that are unreasonable to the people of Kenya. He has refused to pay pending bills to the people of Kenya. Their properties are being auctioned. He has made bribery a way of life. He is mocking Kenyans by displaying millions of shillings in public when people have no food on the table. That is what William Ruto has done to the people of Kenya. If you didn't know, I heard you ask that question. I have that answer for you. And you're asking why people are radicalized. It is the government that is radicalizing the people. The kind of statements of P.O. Wadai and John Badi are making, the so-called experts, are radicalizing the people of Kenya. And they will be radicalized because that is the way the government wants things to be done. Let me, again, it's my very wish, respond to Kipchumba Murkomen. I've heard him.
All right, those are the sentiments of DCP party leader Rigathi Gachagua on the just concluded fuel hike prices protests that have been ongoing since Monday and now Tuesday, when they're suspended for the next 1 week. We cross over now live to Nakuru County, where our reporter Mike Chalo is on standby to just let us know what is the reaction of the people and the views of the people of Nakuru on the update that we got from the high-level meeting that the matatu strike has been suspended for the next 1 week. Good afternoon, Chalo. What are the people saying on ground?
from Nakuru CBD here after just a few minutes when the government, the Matatu Owners Association and the Interior Ministry called off the a strike, the Matatu strike here in Nakuru CBD. It is still a deserted city. Only a few people are here at town and majority of the shops remain closed. Only a few chemists which have been open since the morning, and we expect that maybe in 2-3 hours we're going to witness maybe the usual cause of the day, what happens in Nakuru, the noise in Nakuru that we know that what actually happens in Nakuru. But without much ado, I'm joined with some of the residents of Nakuru. Habari yako? Muda mfupi uliopita kumeweza kutangazwa kuwa mgomo umeweza kutupiliwa mbali baada ya mazungumzo marefu baina ya wahudumu wa matatu na serikali. Maoni yako ni gani?
Mimi kwa majina wananiita Muriso Tiene, chairman wa Resident Association Biashara Ward. Kwa maoni yangu katika hiyo swali mwanahabari, naweza sema ya kwamba tumeshukuru kwa matatu kurudi na serikali kuelewana na hawa wanabiashara wa matatu ili uchumi iendelee kama kawaida, kwa sababu watu wengi wameumia. Ukiangalia masoko zetu zilikosa vifaa za kutoka huko mashambani, mkulima anaumia, muuzaji anaumia, wasafiri wanaumia. Na dunia sasa ni dunia ambayo kuna vitu viwili ambazo kama zinaweza stop saizi, biashara lazima itarudi chini, na hata serikali itapoteza zile revenues ambazo wana suppose kukata. Hiyo ni usafiri na hii mambo ya internet. Hizo siku hizi kazi zote zinafanyika katika hiyo njia. Kwa hivyo kuelewana kwao na kukubaliana kwamba wamepeana muda ya 1 week, hiyo ni mzuri kabisa. At least wazidi kuongea deeply, waone mahali ambapo serikali pia labda wamefinyika ama nchi imefinyika, na mahali ambapo mwananchi wa kawaida pia amefinyika, ili wafikie solution ambayo itasaidia mwananchi wa kawaida, ili mwananchi wa kawaida pia apate riziki yake.
Pengine ni hasara gani ambayo mmepitia wewe kama mkaazi, ni changamoto gani ambayo umepitia kuweza kufika town, na wewe pia kama kiongozi wa wakaazi pengine ni changamoto gani kubwa ambayo umeona zaidi wakipitia wakati ambapo mgomo huu umekuwa ukiendelea?
Ile changamoto ambayo ni ya kwanza ni ya kupoteza maisha. Wakenya tumepoteza maisha, na Nakuru town ndani ya CBD jana tulipoteza maisha, na kuna wengine wamepata majeraha, na kuna wale wafanyabiashara wa nyanya na vitu zingine ambazo zinaoza tayari wamepata hasara ya kwamba hizo vitu zao zimeoza, hawakuweza kuziuza, na hiyo ni hasara kubwa sana kwa ule mwananchi wa kawaida, kwa sababu saa zingine hata yeye amechukua pesa mahali Sailog akachukua pesa kidogo akanunua nyanya ili aweze kuuza, na kwa jana leo na Sunday hizo vitu zimeoza. Kwa hivyo tumepata hasara kubwa, na hata katika nchi pia tumejua kwamba nchi yenyewe pia imepata hasara kubwa, kwa sababu ile tax, ile pesa ambayo wana collect kupitia barabara tumepoteza mengi, ambayo kuna maendeleo ambayo tumejua kwamba zitakwama kwa sababu ya ukosefu ya pesa. Tumepata hasara kubwa.
Asante sana Sheilar. If I can only get to hear from bodaboda operator, habari yako, ni hasara gani ambayo mmepitia nyinyi kama waendeshaji bodaboda, ama kama mmekuwa sawa pia utakuwa unanielezea, manake nyinyi pekee yenu ndio tunaona barabarani. Maoni yako ni gani?
Mimi kwa majina mimi naitwa Wycliffe, na kusema kweli sisi watu ya bodaboda tumeenda hasara kubwa sana, kwa sababu hiyo maandamano imetuaffect tangu jana, hatujafanya kazi. Leo pia hata ukiona bodaboda hapa wamekaa, hakuna kazi kabisa. Hata vile tunaongea hivi mabibi zetu wengine ni kama ni walikuwa karibu watutoroke. Hii maandamano ingeendelea ifike kesho, hatungekuwa na mabibi. Yes.
Pengine una maazimio yako ni gani hasa wanabodaboda mnapoendelea, watu wanapoendelea, hali ya kawaida inapoendelea kurejea, na vile maelewano ya serikali na wahudumu wa matatu? Wito wako ni gani tunapoelekea katika maelewano hayo?
Mimi kwanza nataka kushukuru serikali ya Mheshimiwa William Ruto, na nataka kushukuru wanachama wa wale viongozi ambao wanasimamia hii sekta ya uchukuzi kwa kukuja pamoja na kukubaliana ili kuleta mwafaka, kukuwa na mwafaka ili Wakenya wote wakaweze kunufaika kwa hiyo mazungumzo. Kwa hivyo tunashukuru sana, na hiyo mwafaka italeta saizi vile tunaelewa kazi itarudi kama kawaida, kazi itaendelea, na hata saa hii watu wanabiashara, wafanya biashara watafungua biashara zao. Kesho tunarishumu ama jioni watu wa bodaboda wanarishumu kazi na watu wa matatu wanarishumu kazi ili kazi iendelee kama kawaida.
Thank you so much. Sheila, as the normalcy returns here and resumes here in Nakuru City, we hope that maybe after a few hours all is gonna be okay. Though contrary to yesterday when chaos were witnessed here in Nakuru CBD, today has been a calm day. Though there have been a heavy presence of police patrolling the city, and also business people have been counting losses, especially at the markets, Wakulima Market here in Nakuru. Their cereals and their goods have been going bad, and we hope as everything resumes, the nation will get back well to track. Sheilar.
Absolutely. Thank you very much, Mike Chalo, for the update we are getting from Nakuru County. And of course, it is absolute relief for many of Kenyans who yesterday did get affected in one way or another. Just recapping from what you have spoken with, the residents of Nakuru County is that, now they will be beginning to see the return of business. Yesterday, a majority of businesses across the country were affected. We did see that most of the people were not able to go to their businesses, and of course it was a total paralysis of the situation in most of the counties across the country. But let's just recap on what Interior CS Kipchumba Murkomen did speak on during the presser on the high-level meeting that they did have with the transport stakeholders. Take a listen in.
8%. The government also utilized the Petroleum Development Levy to stabilize fuel prices. Despite these interventions, the prices still remain high. Consequently, the government last night took additional measures to remedy the situation by reducing the price of diesel by 10 shillings per litre. The government also took the same step based on the negotiations that took place yesterday to rationalize the prices of kerosene and diesel by increasing the price of diesel by 38 shillings to avoid.
All right, that there was the moment where the white smoke was seen, and of course it is now a suspension of the Matatu strike for the next 1 week. Definitely a huge relief for most of the Kenyans. For now, we take a short commercial break. We will be back with so much more. Stay with us.
At 8:30 p.m.
Good morning. You have my rent?
Leo jioni kama tutakuwa tumelipa rent nauza simu yako.
Hamna pesa. I need 3 G's to make my nails today.
Sasa hivi natuhusu aje?
Can I order now? Do you ship? Can I get blinking ones?
Mimi nilikuwa na trade. Nimeekelea kitele yangu. Kitele yangu na trade. Nikikunyuma.
Oh my God. You left me. Nitumie ni live.
Uko nje kuna Wi-Fi.
Why? Hi-Fi?
Wait, so what do we call this dish again?
I have no idea.
The cucumbers are there specifically for my beauty routine.
Tamulini kero umeka kwa beauty product.
Na ameenda.
Tunafaa tukuwe na logo yetu. Like, si ni brand already.
You won't entertain divas. No. I'm not dealing with a man child.
Amazing. Nishapenda hii energy.
Sundays at 8:30 p.m. on TV47. Saturday at 8:30 p.m.
My father used to tell me that a hotel is the home for travelers. I guess I forgot that. Recently, it's been more of a mirror of my own ambition.
Oh, yeah.
All right, welcome back and thank you for staying with us here on TV47 at 1 p.m. on this day that the Matatu strike has been suspended for 1 week. And away from that, we now want to cross borders and go to Azerbaijan, where President William Ruto has called for stronger African multilateral financing and reform of the global financial architecture to tackle the housing crisis as a result of rapid urbanization. Speaking in Baku, Azerbaijan, the president said the provision of adequate and affordable housing and a sustainable urban development in developing countries, especially in Africa, continues to be undermined by an unfair international financial architecture. Now, our very own senior political reporter Elizabeth Mutuku is in Azerbaijan and now brings us this following report.
Namna bila shaka Chichi Josephine na Joash Onsare kutoka upande huo wa pili. Kongamano hili kuhusiana na miji linaendelea katika mji mkuu wa Baku ambao ni mji ambapo ni jiji la Azerbaijan. Hiyo jana Rais William Ruto akitoa kauli nzito kuhusiana na uwekezaji wa nyumba za bei nafuu, ambapo anasema Afrika inaongoza, Kenya inaongoza katika Afrika katika makazi ya bei nafuu, na ni kitu ambacho anasema wameweka bidii kupitia pesa ambazo ni pesa zimechangiwa na Wakenya. Hii leo tumezungumza moja kwa moja na waziri wa masuala ya ardhi na pia mipango na nyumba, anafahamika kama Alice Wahome, kuhusiana na hili, na anasema anasisitiza kauli yake Rais William Ruto kuhusiana na njia ambayo sio benki ya dunia bali UN kwa ushirikiano wanaweza kutafuta namna ya kuboresha jinsi ambavyo mataifa ya Afrika ikiwemo Kenya wanaweza kupata pesa ambazo zinatumika katika miradi ya maendeleo pamoja na nyumba. Na pia wamesisitiza umuhimu wa kuendeleza yale ambayo ni makubaliano yaliyokuwepo katika mkutano wa miji uliofanyika mwezi mmoja uliopita katika jiji la Nairobi. Na wanasisitiza kwamba haya makubaliano ni pamoja na masuala ya ardhi, uwekezaji, masuala ya siasa ambayo kwa namna moja au nyingine yanaadhiri sekta ya uwekezaji katika nyumba. Lakini wanasisitiza ukweli ni kwamba mataifa ya Afrika hayajapiga hatua zaidi katika masuala ya uwekezaji wa miji na pia makazi ya bei nafuu. Kumbuka hiyo jana ambaye ni mkuu wa UN ama mkurugenzi mkuu wa UN ambaye yupo hapa, Rosbach, alisisitiza kuwa zaidi ya watu bilioni 3 duniani kote wanaathirika na swala la nyumba. Hivyo basi ikisalia changamoto kuu katika masuala ambayo ni muhimu, lakini hapa Baku wenyewe wamepiga hatua. Alice Wahome anasema yapo mengi ambayo wanaweza kujivunia kutoka huku Baku, lakini tofauti na Baku na Azerbaijan, Kenya ina changamoto na Afrika kwa jumla ya uwekezaji wa pesa ambazo zinahitajika katika uwekezaji. Pia masuala ya ardhi yanasalia kizungumkuti, japo wanajizatiti kupiga hatua ambazo ni bora zaidi. Lakini haya ndiyo baadhi ya yale ambayo Alice Wahome alisema, na nitakuacha usikize hilo. Baadaye tutakuwa tukiungana nawe kutoka hapa Baku kukujuza mengi zaidi kutoka kwa mikutano mbalimbali. Yule ambaye ni katibu mkuu katika masuala ya nyumba, Charles Hinga, anatarajiwa pia kuzungumza, na baadaye tutakuwa tukikujuza amesema nini kuhusiana na masuala haya ya makazi, nyumba na pia ustawi wa miji. Kwangu Elizabeth Mutuku, narejesha studioni, lakini baadaye tutapatana kwa mengi.
Tuna mikakati tumeweka ya kwamba tuko kwa uongozi wa kuonyesha na kujenga nyumba, miji na makao zaidi ya watu wa nchi nyingine Afrika. Na kwa hivyo kwa hii mazungumzo Kenya imejitokeza na kwa uongozi, kwa sababu tuko na yale tunaweza kuzungumza na wengine manchi nyingine vile sisi tunaendesha shughuli yetu ya ujenzi ya nyumba. Na moja ya hiyo ambaye imeshika moto sana ni kwamba tuko na Affordable Housing Act, na hiyo ndio tunaita local solution ama kutafuta sisi wenyewe pesa yetu ya hii kazi, kwa sababu kutarajia tutajenga na pesa ya wengine. Tunaona ya kwamba hapa kwa UN, kwa United Nations, World Bank and IMF, pesa yao saa ingine inakuwa kali sana kwa bei, na kwa hivyo tunaona tukienda mbele ni lazima tuongee, hata tuangalie resources ambaye tuko nazo, tunaweza kuzibadilisha iwe pesa ambaye inatosha kufanya ujenzi ya manyumba na infrastructure yote. Na kwa hivyo pia nafurahia ya kwamba Kenya kama nchi tuliweza kupitisha infrastructure law ambaye, na ile nimepata kutoka hapa ni kwamba infrastructure funding ya Azerbaijan ni kubwa zaidi. Ya nyumba peke yake imefika trilioni 10. Pesa mingi zaidi. Vile sisi tuko Kenya tuko na trilioni kama 4, bajeti yetu inalenga hapo, na hata pesa yenyewe haitoshi. Budget ni kubwa, expenditure ni kubwa kushida ile ambaye pesa tunachukua. Kwa hivyo ni vizuri tujue ya kwamba ile kazi tunaweza kufanya vizuri na tujipangie ni ile ambaye tumejipangia na tumejitafutia pesa yetu. Kwa hivyo suruhu ni kwamba pia tuangalie kwa resources zetu ni nini tunaweza kuexploit, kutumia ndio tufike kiwango ya zile nchi nyingine. Na kama Egypt nimesajua pia Egypt wanauza hata nyumba zao, wanauza resources zao, wanauza shamba ndio wajenge. Yes.
All right, those are the deliberations that are ongoing at the World Urban Forum that is in Baku, Azerbaijan. And of course, we will be getting more updates from Elizabeth Mutuku, who is following closely in our subsequent bulletins. Now we come back to the country when we speak about the transport shutdown that has been witnessed since yesterday. And of course, the message that we did get from Interior CS Kipchumba Murkomen on that there will be more deliberations during this period where the strike has been suspended. So let's take a listen in on what was said earlier.
Measures to remedy the situation by reducing the price of diesel by 10 shillings per litre. The government also took the same step based on the negotiations that took place yesterday to rationalize the prices of kerosene and diesel by increasing the price of diesel by 38 shillings to avoid adulteration as requested by the stakeholders in the transport sector. Understandably, the state had requested for a reduction of 46 shillings, and they are still agitating for further reduction despite the 10 shillings reduction that happened last night. Following a consultation meeting this morning between the government and the representatives, it was agreed that that there was need for negotiations between the government and the stakeholders at a high level, and that those negotiations must be undertaken within the next 1 week. That in the interceding period between now and Tuesday, 26th May, for a period of 1 week.
All right, that is Interior CS Kipchumba Murkomen, who was just briefing on the final solutions of course, or the outcomes of the deliberations that they've had with the transport stakeholders. And of course, we are looking at, temporary relief for many here in the country, especially here at the Nairobi capital city, where we have seen many were affected yesterday during the total paralysis, which meant many could not even access access a town. Many could not go to school, that is for learning students, as well as those who have businesses across the city. That there is the current situation at the Nakuru stage, where we are just looking at minimal activity as normalcy even tries to come back to normal. We are looking at, those conductors, touts, just, waiting now for the passengers, even as the strike continues to be suspended for the next 1 week. And these are pictures that are unlike what we saw yesterday, where at some particular, stages we could see touts playing football. Well, today it looks like, we are looking at a different situation, just that of, normalcy trying to come back. Many cars seem to be parked at this particular moment, but of course that situation seems like it would change as the day goes by. Of course, we are looking at the Matatu strike that has been suspended for the next 1 week. And of course, that means that now normalcy, businesses all come back to normalcy, at least for the next 1 week. So that there is a temporary relief for both the Kenyans and the players in the sector who have, downed their tools since Sunday midnight until today at about noon. That there is the result of the high-level deliberations that had been ongoing from the transport stakeholders, as well as from the CSs who were in the ministries that were involved. That is a CS Mbadi from Treasury, CS Interior Kipchumba Murkomen, and as well as the CS Energy Opiyo Wandayi. Of course, it is a white smoke. Maybe this situation could be quelled in the next days, or we are looking at just taking a look on what the situation will be like even after the 1 week that we have been given as the notice. Of course, most places across the country, that has been a total relief, as it is now going to be different from the paralysis that we did see yesterday. And that is the Nakuru stage. At least we are seeing cars now moving about. That was not normal this particular morning. We definitely could not even spot PSVs on some of the roads. And of course, we will be joining most of our reporters on ground to just let us know what the situation is at this particular moment. And of course, we ask you to now give us a feedback on what is your feeling of the suspension that we have seen, as well as what is the situation in the area you are in. Of course, send us those comments on our SMS line, as well as on our digital platforms at TV47KE and at TV47 Digital. And of course, we will be sampling all that in our subsequent bulletins at 4 p.m., at 7 p.m. and at 9 p.m. All this as we let you up to speed on the latest on the fuel hike protest that has been suspended for the next 1 week. Stay with us as we will update you in our subsequent bulletins. But for now, do enjoy the rest of your viewership. My name is Sheilar Chelangat. See you at 4 p.m.